Golly. That I'm kind of a little. It's enough to be overwhelmed to have that kind of stuff suddenly get you right in the face. And so, thanks to the board and the SRA and all this, because this is really an honor, and I'm truly humbled. I do have a question, though, first. We have some current buffalo chips here, I know. We've got some past buffalo chips. How many buffalo chips have been associated? Look at those hands. Thank you. That swells in my heart, because they have been a part of my life that shaped me and kind of defined me over the last 40 years. So I want to give you a little history that you didn't show up there. That did, I guess, in fact, because the buffalo chips started because a bunch of guys that like to run would go to the Buffalo Club and drink beer after the run. This is stuff that Mary talked about, and that's what we did, just like we do now. So, but the Buffalo Club was at 19th and S. Some of you older people may remember that. There were great times there, and we moved on, as George said, to develop some very fantastic times in the club. It came about with, see, all that stuff come up. I don't have to say anything, do I? It's all been said. Paul Reese put on a 100-mile relay from Sacramento to Marysville and back. And so we needed 10 runners, and also we needed an identity, and that's where, in the Buffalo Club, how did the Buffalo Club get its name? I've been asked that hundreds of times, probably. And, well, it was a little murky, because it came out of those times in the Buffalo Club, and of course, when we were drinking beer, nobody really remembers too well, but it just happened there. I got to know the owner pretty well. He supplied us with those yellow shirts that you saw. Had to go down to a little sports store on Franklin Boulevard, got those. Then he sent me out to North Highlands to somebody's house, and he had a silk screen in his garage. And we turned those things into the first shirts and uniform for the Buffalo Chips. It was a lot simpler in those days, I think. But anyway, from the original, that group, seven guys and one woman, Jane Johnson, we took on that 100-mile race, and some of the stuff that's not in there. There were 7 teams in that 100-mile race, and we took 6th because we trounced the San Juan Striders girls team. So we're very proud of ourselves. It was a task finding 10 guys that could run 10 miles, but then we felt we needed an event of our own, and out of that sprang the Buffalo Stampede, which I'm so proud to say is still going strong today. Now, why did it become 10 mile? Well, we had proved we were already accomplished 10-mile runners, so that's just how it had to be. The Buffalo Stampede was close to me because I felt like I had to have a special award for that race. And out of that came the Buffalo Chip on a plaque to the first male and the first female. And I guess over 30 years, I've probably given 2 of those out, or I made them. And so, well, how did that happen? They were authentic Buffalo Chips. So if you, around here, have driven up Highway 50, for years, there was a herd of buffalo on the south side of Highway 50, if you noticed. Maybe half a dozen or 8. Well, that was a constant supply of Buffalo Chips for me. I would drive up there after the summer, had a chance to dry them out nicely, and I would jump the fence into that herd of buffalo, which, excuse me, I would be sure they were further enough away where they weren't going to feel threatened by me. And I'd take a bag and I would pick up a bunch of ones, and I was very selective. They had to be just the right size, and they had to be formed just right, but they were the real thing. Well, and so I just put them on a nice plaque, and that was our awards for a long time. Well, one year, we had one of those storms in September, that comes through real quick. Well, guess what? I was out of buffalo chips at that point. My supply was down, but I was undaunted. I had to come up with something, so I drove up to the field, jumped the fence, went out there, and they had started to become their original state a little bit. So, but I got what I needed and came back. Well, they weren't dry, and I knew I had to get them dry because I put shellac on them, and I had to make them right. So I thought, well, I can dry these out. There's no problem. So I put them in the oven first at home, and that wasn't working well. It wasn't fast enough. I was running out of time because I didn't do it quickly enough. So I said, okay, I'll use the microwave. So I put one in the microwave, and well, guess what? Smoke is billowing out of the microwave, and all of a sudden it caught fire in the microwave. So I rushed it. I had to save it, and so I threw water on it. Well, I realized I wasn't making a lot of progress here because it was becoming reconstituted. And I got it together. It came off all right. But when Julie's mom, Cynthia, came home later that afternoon, house was still a little smoky. And she realized that I had not been home baking chocolate chip cookies that day. Well, the serious stuff aside, I have to acknowledge a couple of people way back. And if you ever heard of Ken Cooper, the fellow who wrote the book Aerobics back in the 80s or 60s, I read that, and I think probably that may have saved my life. It was that serious about it. And then secondly, later on, I met Mickey Brody here in town. He was a 1964 Olympian in race walking. We became good friends, and he taught me that you can shoot high and still have a lot of fun. And we did that for a long time, along with all you wonderful buffalo chips and runners to follow. Thank you very much.